The crystal towers of Velethor stretched into the purple sky like frozen lightning. Inside the largest tower, the Galactic Council Chamber hummed with quiet conversation. 7 species had gathered here, representatives of the oldest civilizations in the known universe. They sat in their designated seats, arranged in a perfect circle around a holographic display that floated in the center. Ambassador Tae Min walked through the massive doors, his footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Behind him came Commander Ji Woo, a woman whose military uniform looked almost ceremonial compared to the elaborate robes worn by the other species. Beside her walked Hana, carrying a data tablet that held information the Council was about to ignore. Tae-Min had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years now. In that time, he had learned patience. The Council moved slowly, spoke carefully, and made decisions only after endless debate. This was how they had maintained peace for 3,000 years. They constantly reminded him. Humanity was barely 50 years into their membership. They were children in galactic terms. The session began with the usual formalities. Trade disputes between the Velethor and the Kirishi aquatic species. Border adjustments in the neutral zones. Resource allocation for colony worlds. Tae Min waded through it all, his expression calm, but his hands gripping the armrests of his chair. Finally, the council speaker acknowledged him. The speaker was a Velethor named Corvin, tall and thin with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Ambassador Tae Min, you have requested emergency time. The council will hear you, though we hope this matter is truly urgent. Tae Min stood. He could feel the weight of their attention, most of it dismissive. Humanity always seemed to find emergencies where none existed. Thank you, Speaker Corvin. I wish to present evidence of a growing threat in the outer reach. The holographic display changed as Hana uploaded their data. Images appeared showing destroyed space stations, colonies gone silent, and scattered reports from the frontier. Over the past 6 months, 17 settlements have lost contact with the Council network. Our investigation shows a pattern. These were not accidents or equipment failures. They were attacks. A Koreshi representative named Velethor leaned forward, his gill slits fluttering. The outer reach is vast, Ambassador. Communication disruptions are common in those regions. Not like this, Hana interjected, then caught herself. She was not supposed to speak without permission. Tae Min nodded for her to continue. The pattern is deliberate. Each colony was isolated first, then overwhelmed. We have identified the aggressor. They call themselves the Vorath Collective. The name meant nothing to the Council. They exchanged glances, some confused, others annoyed at the interruption to their schedule. Speaker Corvin waved a long-fingered hand. This Vorath Collective. What do we know of them? Tae Min brought up new images. Ships, angular and dark, bristling with weapons. They are an expansionist force. They have been operating in the shadows, conquering minor species and enslaving populations. Our intelligence suggests they have built an armada, a large one, and they are moving toward council space. The chamber filled with murmurs. An older representative from the Veshan Collective, a species that resembled floating jellyfish in containment suits, spoke with a voice like wind through caves. Ambassador, your species is young. You do not yet understand the galaxy. There are always small conflicts on the frontier. The Council has protocols for this. Diplomatic envoys will be sent. Communication channels will be opened. Violence is never the answer. Violence is already happening, Commander Ji Woo said, her voice sharp. She immediately regretted speaking, but Tae Min did not stop her. Those colonies are gone. Thousands of beings are dead or enslaved. While we debate protocols, the Vorath are moving. Speaker Corvin's expression hardened. Commander, the Council has maintained peace for 3 millennia. We have done so through patience, wisdom, and the rejection of primitive solutions. War is a concept your species has not yet evolved beyond. We have. Tae-Min felt anger rising in his chest, but pushed it down. Speaker Corvin, with respect, I am not advocating for war. I am advocating for preparation, defense. The Vorath will not stop at the frontier. Please authorize a defensive fleet to investigate. The vote was swift. 5 members voted no. Only Velther and 1 other abstained. The council would send a diplomatic delegation to the Outer Reach. They would attempt to contact this Vorath collective. They would offer talks, trade agreements, perhaps a seat on the council itself. This was the civilized way. As the session adjourned, Tae-Min gathered his materials in silence. Ji-Woo looked ready to argue further, but he shook his head. Hannah simply stared at the floor. They had presented perfect evidence, clear warnings, and the council had dismissed it all. Outside the chamber, Velther approached them. The Kirishi moved awkwardly on land, his suit keeping his skin moist. Ambassador, a word? They moved to a private alcove. Velther's large eyes reflected genuine concern. I believe you, but the council will not act. They cannot conceive of a threat they cannot talk away. 3,000 years of peace has made them blind. What can we do? Tae-Min asked. Gather more evidence. I will help you access frontier communications. Perhaps if we can prove beyond doubt that diplomatic solutions have failed, the council will listen. Velther paused. Tell me something, Ambassador. Your species' history. We know you were violent once. Wars, conflicts, weapons of terrible power. How did you move beyond it? Tae-Min chose his words carefully. We did not move beyond it, Scholar Velther. We learned to control it. There is a difference. After Velther departed, the 3 humans stood alone in the alien architecture. Ji-Woo spoke first. They are fools. By the time they admit the threat is real, it will be too late. Then we prepare anyway, Ta-Man said. He pulled out a secure communicator and encrypted the channel. Hana, send word to Earth. Tell Fleet Admiral Kung Su to begin contingency protocols, quietly. Sir, the Council has forbidden independent military buildups, Hana warned. The Council has also forbidden species extinction, Tae-Min replied. I know which rule I would rather break. The message was sent. Light years away, Earth's military command would receive it within hours. Humanity would prepare for a war the galaxy refused to believe was coming. They had done this before. Tae-Min knew. Humans were good at preparing for the worst, while hoping for the best. As they walked back to their ship, Ji-Woo asked, Do you think they will really let millions die before they act? Tae-Min looked up at the alien sky, so different from Earth's blue. Yes, they have forgotten what we remember. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is what you have when you are strong enough to defend it. The first part of the storm had passed. The Council had made its choice. Now humanity would make theirs. And when the Vorath came, the galaxy would learn that the youngest species among them remembered lessons the oldest had forgotten. The human embassy on Velther was a modest building compared to the towering structures of the older species. Inside a secure room, Tae-Min sat across from Scholar Velther, watching as the Kirishi reviewed data on a holographic screen. The light from the display reflected off Velther's moisture suit, creating patterns that danced across the walls. 3 more colonies have gone silent, Velther said quietly. The Council has classified the information. They do not want panic. Tae-Min leaned forward. They are hiding the truth from their own people? They believe they are protecting them. The diplomatic delegation was sent to the Outer Reach 2 weeks ago. There has been no response. Velther's gill slits fluttered rapidly, a sign of distress. I accessed their last transmission. It was brief. They reported detecting multiple large vessels approaching their position. Then nothing. The room fell silent. Hannah, who stood by the door monitoring for surveillance, closed her eyes. Ji Woo clenched her fists. Tae Min simply nodded, as if he had expected this. Because he had. The council must be informed, Velther continued. But they will claim it is a communication failure. Equipment malfunction. They will send another delegation. This cycle will continue until the Vorth are at our doorstep. Tae Min made a decision. Scholar Velther, I need to show you something. But once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will understand why humanity is different. Why we are dangerous. Velther tilted his head, a gesture of curiosity in Kerashi body language. I am a scholar. Knowledge is never something to fear. Hannah activated a different display. Images began to flow across the screen. Ancient battlefields from Earth's history. Soldiers in trenches. Cities burning. Mushroom clouds rising over devastated landscapes. The images were not gratuitous, but they were honest. They showed the reality of human conflict across 10,000 years. This is Earth, Tae Min began. Before we reached the stars, we spent millennia fighting each other. Every continent, every nation, every tribe. We perfected the art of war because we practiced it constantly. The images shifted to show military academies, strategic maps, weapons development. We studied conflict like you study mathematics. We developed theories of warfare, tactics, strategies. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet. And we came very close to using them. Velther watched in silence, his large eyes unblinking. The images showed modern military operations, coordinated strikes, naval fleets, air superiority. The precision and efficiency were undeniable. How did you survive? Velther whispered. Barely, Ji Woo answered. We reached a point where we realized we had two choices. Destroy ourselves or learn to work together. We chose survival. But we did not forget the lessons. We could not afford to. Tae Min stood and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful city below. When humanity encountered the Council, we were relieved. We thought we had found proof that species could evolve beyond violence. We embraced your philosophy. We became model citizens. We learned your languages, your customs, your laws. But you kept your weapons, Velther said, understanding dawning. We kept our knowledge, Tae Min corrected. The Council asked us to decommission our warships. We did, but we did not forget how to build them. They asked us to convert our military academies to civilian universities. We did. But we did not stop teaching military history. Hannah brought up new images, these ones showing human shipyards in orbit around Earth and Mars. They looked civilian, designed for cargo and transport. These facilities can be converted to military production in less than 6 months. We have the plans ready. We have the resources stockpiled. We simply need the authorization. Velther moved closer to the display, studying the designs. His scientific mind was working, analyzing. Your cargo ships. These frames. They could mount weapon systems. Heavy railguns, missile pods, and point defense systems, Ji Woo confirmed. A cargo hauler becomes a destroyer in 3 weeks. A passenger liner becomes a carrier in 4. We designed them that way from the beginning. This is why the Council fears your species, Velther said, but there was no accusation in his voice. Only understanding. You smile and speak of peace, but you prepare for war. Tae Min turned from the window. We do not want war, scholar. We truly do not. Every human knows the cost. We have monuments to our dead that stretch for miles. We have histories filled with horrors we never want to repeat. But we also know that hoping for peace is not the same as securing it. He pulled up a final image, a quote written in both English and the common galactic script. There is an old saying on Earth, if you want peace, prepare for war. The Council has forgotten this truth. They think peace exists because everyone wants it. But peace exists because no one can afford to break it. Velthor was silent for a long moment. Outside, the sounds of the city continued, peaceful and oblivious. Finally, the Kireshi scholar spoke. What is your plan, Ambassador? Earth's military is mobilizing as we speak, Taemin said. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo is overseeing the conversion of civilian vessels to military use. Within 4 months, we will have a fleet. Not a large one by Council standards, but an effective one. The Council will see this as a violation of the membership accords, Velthor warned. Only if they look. And they will not look. They trust humanity to remain peaceful and compliant. Taemin's voice hardened. That trust will save them, even if they do not realize it yet. Ji Woo stepped forward. We need your help, Scholar. We need access to Council Defense Network codes, patrol routes, fleet positions. Not to attack them, but to coordinate with them when the time comes. You are asking me to commit treason, Velthor said flatly. I am asking you to save your people, Taemin replied. The Vorith are coming. The Council will not act until it is too late. But humanity will act. We will fight. The question is whether the Council's forces will be able to fight alongside us, or whether they will be swept away before they understand what is happening. Velthor looked at each of them in turn. These humans, so young by galactic standards, so primitive in the eyes of the Council. Yet here they stood, prepared for a threat no one else would acknowledge. The scholar thought of his homeworld, the beautiful underwater cities, the children learning in schools. He thought of them burning while the Council debated. I will help you, Velthor decided. But I have a condition. When the time comes, when you show the Council what humanity can do, you must also show them mercy. You must teach them, not conquer them. Can you promise that? Taemin extended his hand, a human gesture Velthor had learned. The Kireshi placed his webbed hand in the ambassador's grip. We will show them that strength does not mean cruelty, that preparedness does not mean aggression, and that remembering how to fight does not mean we want to. Over the next weeks, information flowed secretly between the Kireshi scholar and the human embassy. Defense codes were copied. Fleet positions were mapped. Communication protocols were shared. It was espionage in service of salvation, treason in service of survival. Meanwhile, light years away, Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo stood in the command center of the newly commissioned warship Indomitable. Around him, officers worked at stations that had been hidden in civilian ship designs. Weapon systems were being installed. Pilots were training in combat maneuvers. Marines were drilling in boarding procedures. The Admiral looked at a holographic display showing Earth and its colonies. So peaceful, so vulnerable. He touched a button, and the display changed, showing the outer reach and the last known positions of Vorith vessels. They were moving in a pattern, probing, testing, preparing. How long? Asked Captain De Hyan, the Indomitable's commanding officer. 3 months, Kyung-soo replied. Maybe 4. The Vorith are gathering their strength. When they move, they will move fast. Multiple targets simultaneously. They will try to overwhelm Council defenses before anyone can respond. Will we be ready? Kyung-soo looked at the young captain. De Hyan had never seen real combat. None of them had. Humanity's peace had lasted 3 generations now. But they had trained. They had studied. They had prepared. We will be ready enough. And we will have to be, because no one else will be. On Velethor, Taemin received a coded message from Earth. The fleet was ahead of schedule. Kyung-Soo was a miracle worker. Humanity would be ready. Now they just had to hope the galaxy would survive long enough to learn what humans had always known. That peace was not weakness. That diplomacy was not surrender. And that sometimes, the only way to preserve civilization was to remember how to defend it. The alarm started at dawn on the Kirishi, homeworld of Kirin. Not the gentle chimes that signaled weather alerts or tide warnings, but the harsh, ancient sirens that had not sounded in 3,000 years. The planet's orbital defense platforms detected them first. Massive vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel, dozens of them, arranged in attack formations. The Vareth had arrived. On Velither, in the council chamber, chaos erupted. Holographic displays showed the attack in real time. 3 worlds simultaneously under assault. Kirin, the Kirishi homeworld. Vesha Prime, home to the jellyfish-like Veshan Collective. And Velither itself, the seat of galactic government. Speaker Corvin stood frozen, his shimmering skin pale with shock. This cannot be happening. We sent diplomats. We offered talks. Your diplomats are dead, Taemin said, striding into the chamber without permission or announcement. Behind him came Ji-Woo and Hana, both in full military uniform now. The pretense of peaceful service was over. The Vareth killed them 2 weeks ago. They have been positioning their fleet ever since. And you did nothing. Ambassador, this is not the time for accusations, Corvin began, but his voice lacked its usual authority. You are right. This is the time for action. Taemin activated the central display, overriding the Council's controls. New images appeared. Human warships, dozens of them, already in motion. The Earth Defense Fleet is en route to all 3 attacked worlds. Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo commands them. They will arrive in 7 hours. The council members erupted in protest. A Veshan representative, Vorik, spoke in his wind-like voice. You had no authorization to build a military fleet. This is a violation of the membership accords. So is genocide, Ji-Woo snapped. Which would you prefer? That we followed your rules and let millions die? Or that we break your rules and save them? On the displays, the battle for Kirin was going poorly. The planet's orbital platforms were designed for prestige, not combat. They fired slow, predictable shots that the Vorth vessels easily avoided. When the platforms did hit, their weapons barely damaged the enemy armor. The Vorth returned fire with brutal efficiency. Within minutes, the first platform exploded. Velther rushed into the chamber, his moisture suit dripping. My homeworld. We must evacuate the underwater cities. The orbital defenses are failing. Your defense fleet? Taemin asked, though he already knew the answer. They are patrol ships, Velther said desperately. Designed to chase smugglers, not fight warships. They are requesting orders, but the military command has not fought a battle in 3,000 years. No one knows what to do. Taemin made a decision that would change galactic history. Hana, open a channel to Kirishi Defense Command. Commander Ji-Woo, you have operational authority. Ji-Woo stepped forward, her voice cutting across the confusion. Kirishi vessels, this is Commander Ji-Woo of the Earth Defense Force. I am assuming tactical command. Do you copy? There was a pause, then a hesitant Kirishi voice responded. We copy, Commander, but we cannot take orders from... You can die following your own orders, or you can live following mine. Choose now. Another pause. The display showed a Voroth warship targeting a cluster of civilian habitats. The Kirishi commander made his choice. We copy, awaiting instructions. Ji-Woo began issuing orders with calm precision. All vessels form a defensive screen between the Voroth fleet and the planet. Do not engage individually. Move in formations of 3. Target their weapon systems, not their hulls. Focus fire on single targets. Commander, our weapons are not strong enough to penetrate their armor, the Kireshi officer protested. I did not say penetrate. I said focus fire. 3 ships, 1 target, simultaneous strikes. You will overload their shields. Trust me. On Vesha Prime and Valathar, similar scenes played out. Human advisors took command of the confused and panicking defense forces. They implemented tactics that seemed strange to species who had never fought. Coordinated attacks, defensive formations, strategic retreats to lure enemies into crossfire. It was not pretty, and it was not enough. The Vorath were experienced warriors fighting against amateurs. But the human tactics bought time. Precious time? Then, like ancient cavalry cresting a hill, the Earth Defense Fleet arrived. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 47 warships converted from civilian vessels in secret shipyards. They were not beautiful like council ships. They were angular, efficient, covered in weapon mounts and armor plating. They looked exactly like what they were. Tools of war. Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the tactical display. All ships weapons-free, target packages distributed. Execute attack plan Delta 7. The human fleet moved like a single organism. They had trained for this, studied it. War was not new to them, even if this particular war was. The Indomitable led the charge, its railguns firing at near light speed. The projectiles hit a Vorath cruiser's shield, and unlike the Kireshi weapons, they did not bounce off. The shield flashed, flickered, and failed. The second volley tore through the cruiser's hull around Kirin. The battle changed instantly. The Vorath had expected easy prey. They found wolves instead. Captain De Hyon commanded a squadron of destroyers that moved through the Vorath formation like sharks through fish. His ships did not trade blows with the enemy. They struck and moved, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. It was a tactic as old as human warfare. Mobility over strength. On the surface of Kirin, underwater cities watched through their protective domes as the battle raged above. They saw their own ships, clumsy and outmatched, suddenly fighting with purpose under human direction. They saw the human fleet, small but deadly, dismantling the Vorath attack, and they saw something else. They saw human ships take hits meant for Kireshi vessels. They saw the destroyer Valiant position itself between a Vorath dreadnought and a damaged Kireshi cruiser, absorbing fire that would have destroyed the larger ship. The Valiant's shields failed. Its hull breached, but it held position until the Kireshi ship could retreat. Why? Velthar whispered, watching from the council chamber. Why would they sacrifice themselves for us? Tae Min stood beside him, his face grim. Because that is what soldiers do. They stand between their friends and danger. We are allies now, whether you accept it or not. The Battle of Kirin lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Vorath fleet was in full retreat. They had lost 18 ships and gained nothing. The human fleet had lost 4 vessels and saved a world. Similar outcomes occurred at Vesha Prime and Valathar. The Vorath had struck 3 worlds expecting easy conquest. They found Earth's warships waiting instead. In the aftermath, the council chamber was silent. The displays showed the damage. Orbital platforms destroyed. Defense ships crippled. But the worlds themselves were intact. The population saved. Speaker Corvin finally spoke, his voice small. Ambassador Tae Min, you saved us. You violated our laws, built a military fleet in secret, and saved us. Tae Min turned to face the council. Yes, and now you need to decide. You can punish us for breaking your rules. You can demand we disarm and return to being peaceful citizens. Or you can accept that the galaxy has changed. The Vorath are not gone. They are regrouping. They will return with more ships, better tactics, and next time they will not be surprised. What are you saying? Vorik asked. I am saying the time for pretending is over. Tae-min's voice echoed in the chamber, cold and clear. You built your civilization on the idea that war was primitive, that violence could be talked away, that peace existed because everyone was civilized. You were wrong. Peace existed because no one had tested it. He pointed to the displays showing human ships on patrol, protecting 3 worlds. The Voreth tested it. Your defenses failed in minutes. Your fleets had no tactics. Your commanders had no experience. If humanity had not prepared, if we had followed your rules, millions would be dead right now. The council members looked at each other, pride and shame warring on their faces. So I will say it one more time, Tae-min continued. The time for talking has ended. The time for war has come. And humanity will show you how to fight it, not because we want to, but because someone must. And we are the only ones who remember how. The chamber remained silent. Outside, human ships patrolled. On their bridges, officers who had trained for a war they hoped would never come now faced the reality of command. They had proven themselves in blood and fire. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. And deep in the outer reach, the Voreth Collective gathered its forces, studying this unexpected resistance. The humans had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. The Galactic Council convened in emergency session 48 hours after the first battle. The crystal chamber that usually hosted debates about trade policy now served as a war room. Holographic displays showed fleet positions, damaged infrastructure, and casualty reports. The numbers were staggering, even with humanity's intervention. Speaker Corvin stood at the center, looking diminished somehow. The arrogance that had defined council leadership for millennia was gone. We face a choice, he said simply. We can continue as we have, letting our worlds fall one by one. Or we can accept help from those who know how to fight. A vote was swift, but not unanimous. Some council members still clung to their pride, but the majority voted in favor. The Earth Defense Force would have authority over military operations. Humanity would lead the defense of council space. Tae-min took no satisfaction in the victory. He had seen the casualty reports, the Valiant's crew, the Kireishi defenders who had followed orders but lacked the training to survive. Every death was a price paid for the council's blindness. Fleet Admiral Kyung-soo arrived at Velither within the day. He was an older man, his hair gray, his face lined with the weight of command. He had spent 30 years preparing for a war he hoped would never come. Now it was here, and he moved with grim efficiency. The first thing he did was shocking. He gathered all available council military commanders in a room and began teaching them. War is not chaos, Kyung-soo explained to the assembled officers. It is organized violence with specific goals. You must understand this before anything else. Every battle has an objective. Every maneuver has a purpose. A Velither fleet commander, Corvin's nephew Tarvok, raised a hand. We understand strategy, Admiral. We simply lack experience. You lack more than experience. You lack doctrine. Kyung-soo brought up a tactical display. Show me how you would attack this Vorath formation. Tarvok studied it, then highlighted his approach. A direct assault, overwhelming numbers, focused fire. It was textbook council tactics, learned from ancient manuals that described conflicts against asteroids and space debris, not actual enemies. Kyung-soo shook his head. You would lose half your fleet in the opening minutes. The Vorath would target your command ships first. Without leadership, your forces would panic and scatter. Then how would you attack? Tarvok asked, frustration in his voice. The Admiral's hands moved across the display. I would not attack at all, not directly. I would send scout ships to probe their defenses. I would identify their weak points. Then I would feint here drawing their attention while my real force strikes here. His finger pointed to a position that seemed irrelevant. Their supply ships. Cut their logistics, and their warships become useless. The room was silent. It was a kind of thinking none of them had been taught. War as problem-solving. Combat as mathematics. Violence as strategy. You will learn this, Kyung-Soo continued. All of you. Because the Vorith will not wait for you to catch up. They are regrouping now. Our intelligence suggests they are gathering an even larger fleet. When they come again, you must be ready. On Earth's moon, in training facilities built in secret over decades, Council officers began arriving for accelerated combat courses. They learned tactics that humanity had refined over millennia. Flanking maneuvers, defensive positions, combined arms warfare, the use of terrain and timing. They learned that honor in battle meant nothing if you were dead. Commander Ji Woo ran the ground forces training. She was harder than the space combat instructors, demanding perfection from soldiers who had never seen war. Her students were mostly volunteers from Council species who wanted to fight. Among them was a young Koreshi named Bora. She had lost her family in the first attack, her underwater city damaged by debris from the orbital battle. She came to learn how to prevent it from happening again. You are too slow, Ji Woo said, watching Bora attempt a tactical drill. In real combat, that hesitation gets you killed. I am not trained for violence, Bora replied, frustration evident. My people are scholars and builders. Then learn. Or watch your people die while scholars debate and builders construct monuments to the fallen. Ji Woo's voice was harsh, but not cruel. You think we want this? You think humans enjoy war? We hate it. But we are good at it because we had to be. Now you must be too. Something changed in Bora's eyes. She ran the drill again. Faster, smoother. She was learning. Captain Dae Hyun led the fighter pilot training. His students flew in simulators, practicing maneuvers that seemed impossible. Tight turns, split-second timing, operating at the edge of what their bodies could endure. You fly like you are on parade, he told a group of Veshan pilots. Beautiful formations, perfect spacing. In combat, you will die within seconds. He demonstrated, his fighter breaking formation to dodge simulated fire, rolling, diving, creating chaos that the enemy could not predict. You must be unpredictable. Random seems reckless, but controlled chaos is devastating. Make them unable to target you. The Veshan pilots struggled. Their culture valued harmony and order. Chaos felt wrong. But they learned, because the alternative was extinction. Meanwhile, Hana built an intelligence network. She recruited informants, established communication protocols, and trained council officers in counterintelligence. The Vorith had spies in council space. She found them. They were eliminated quietly, professionally, without the public trials and debates the council preferred. This is barbaric, one council oversight officer complained. We execute no one without due process. Due process gives them time to transmit fleet positions to the enemy, Hana replied coldly. Your choice. Legal purity or survival. The council chose survival. 6 weeks after the first battle, a patrol fleet encountered Vorith scouts. Instead of engaging directly, they followed the new protocols. They tracked the scouts back to a supply base hidden in an asteroid field. Then they called in Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo. The attack was a masterpiece of human military thought. Stealth ships infiltrated the field. Marines in powered armor boarded the supply station before anyone knew they were there. The garrison was captured, not killed. Interrogation revealed the location of the main Vorith staging area. More importantly, it revealed the Vorith's next target. They planned to strike at 6 worlds simultaneously, overwhelming the defenders with numbers. It was a good strategy. It would have worked against the old Council defenses, but the Council had learned. Kung Su assembled his commanders, both human and Council species. They expect us to spread our forces thin, trying to defend everything. We will not. We will defend 3 worlds with everything we have. The other 3 will be evacuated. You would abandon 3 worlds? Tarvik asked, shocked. I would save 3 worlds and recover the others later, Kyung-Soo corrected. This is called strategic depth. You give ground when necessary to maintain your strength. The plan was executed flawlessly. Populations were evacuated from the 3 targeted worlds. The Vorath arrived to find empty cities and automated defenses. Meanwhile, at the 3 defended worlds, a massive combined fleet waited. The Battle of Vesha Prime would be studied in military academies for generations. The Vorath committed their full force to the attack, expecting scattered resistance. Instead, they found a concentrated defense that outnumbered them 2 to 1. Human warships fought alongside Council vessels that now knew what they were doing. Koreshi cruisers executed flanking maneuvers. Velather destroyers used terrain for cover. Veshan carriers launched fighters that flew in the chaotic patterns Daehyun had taught them. And in the center of it all, the Indomitable led the charge. Kyung-Soo commanded from its bridge, his orders precise and calm. Target their flagships. Cut off their command structure. Make them fight blind. Lieutenant Bora was on the surface of Vesha Prime, commanding a defensive position. When Vorath dropships attempted to land, her unit was ready. They did not stand and fight honorably. They ambushed, used hit-and-run tactics, and made the enemy pay for every meter of ground. When a Vorath assault team cornered her squad, Bora made a decision. She ordered her soldiers to retreat while she held the position alone. She lasted 4 minutes. It was enough. Her squad escaped, regrouped, and counterattacked. The Vorath team was destroyed. Chi Wu pulled Bora from the rubble, injured but alive. Good work, Lieutenant. I learned from humans, Bora said through her pain. Sometimes one person can make a difference. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Vorath fleet was shattered. They had lost more than half their ships. The survivors fled to the outer reach. In the council chamber, Speaker Corvin addressed the assembled members. We have won. Thanks to humanity, we have won. But Kyung-Soo shook his head. We have won a battle. The war continues. The Vorath will adapt. They will learn from this defeat. We must continue to evolve faster than they do. What do you recommend, Admiral? Corvin asked. A permanent military structure, joint command, continued training, and a counteroffensive. We must take the fight to them, not wait for them to regroup and attack again. The Council hesitated. Attack? Invade another species' territory? It went against everything they believed, but they had learned. They voted yes. The galaxy was changing. The peaceful Council species were becoming warriors, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And humanity was teaching them that strength used in defense of others was not barbarism. It was duty. A combined fleet gathered at the edge of Council space. It was the largest military force assembled in 3,000 years. Human warships formed the core, but they were outnumbered now by Council vessels that had been retrofitted with proper weapons and armor. The students had become soldiers. Fleet Admiral Kyung-Soo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, reviewing the final battle plans. Beside him, Commander Tarvak reviewed the same data. The Velather officer had proven himself capable, learning quickly, adapting to human military doctrine while maintaining his own species' strengths. The Vorath homeworld is heavily defended, Tarvak observed. Their orbital platforms are more advanced than ours were. They have been building military infrastructure for decades. Which is why we will not attack the whole world directly, Kong Su replied. He changed the display. We attack their colony worlds first, their mining operations, their food production. We strangle their war machines slowly. A siege, Tarvek said. You would starve them into surrender. I would give them the chance to surrender before we reach their homeworld. If they refuse, then yes, we will make the cost of continuing this war unbearable. Kyung Su looked at the younger officer. War is not about glory or honor. It is about achieving your objective with minimal loss of life on both sides. If the Vorath can be convinced to stop through economic pressure, we avoid a final battle that would kill millions. The campaign began with surgical strikes. Human stealth ships identified Vorath supply convoys and disabled them. Council forces captured mining facilities without destroying them, holding them as bargaining chips. Captain Dae Hyan led fighter squadrons that eliminated Vorath. Patrol ships before they could report fleet movements. The Vorath responded with fury. They sent their remaining warships to defend their colonies. Fleet Admiral Kyung Su was waiting. The Battle of Vorath Colony 7 was brief and decisive. The Vorath fought with desperation, but desperation was not strategy. They lost 12 ships and gained nothing. After that, the Vorath leadership began to fracture. Their military commanders argued for continued resistance. Their civilian government saw the writing on the wall. The Council's forces were not raiders or conquerors. They were professional soldiers executing a plan with terrible efficiency. Ambassador, Tae Min sent a message directly to the Vorath government. You chose war. You attacked peaceful worlds. You enslaved populations. You thought the Council was weak. And you were right. But you did not account for those who remember what you have forgotten. How to fight, how to win, and how to know when you have lost. The message continued. We offer terms. Cease all military operations. Release all prisoners and enslaved populations. Dismantle your offensive military capability. In exchange, we will not invade your homeworld. We will not occupy your colonies. We will allow you to rebuild as a peaceful member of the galactic community. The Vorath High Command rejected the terms. They would fight to the last ship, they declared. Their honor demanded it. The Vorath civilian government accepted the terms 2 days later, arresting their own military leaders. Honor, they decided, was less important than survival, but the military loyalists refused to surrender. They retreated to Vorath Prime and prepared for a final stand. Orbital weapons platforms surrounded the planet. Defense fleets positioned themselves for a desperate battle. They would make the invaders pay for every meter. Kyung Su gathered his command staff. We could wait, maintain the blockade, starve them out over months. Many would die, Ji Woo pointed out. The civilian population would suffer. Then we attack, Kung Su decided. But we minimize casualties on both sides. Commander Tarvik, your thought. The Velither officer had become comfortable speaking in these meetings. A direct assault would be costly. But if we can disable their orbital platforms quickly, their fleet will be unsupported. Lieutenant Bora has suggested using boarding parties to capture the platforms intact. Risky, Captain Dae Hyan observed. The platforms are heavily manned, which is why we use overwhelming force in the boarding action, Bora said. She had recovered from her injuries and earned a promotion. Her tactical thinking impressed even the human officers. We do not try to be clever. We use numbers. 5 Marines for every defender. They surrender or die, but the platforms do not have time to fire on our fleet. It was brutal logic, learned from humans who had fought countless wars. Kyung Su approved the plan. The final battle began with a massive coordinated assault. 20 human assault ships, specially designed for boarding operations, launched simultaneously. They carried Marines from 6 different species, all trained in the tactics Ji Woo had taught. They hit the orbital platforms before the Vorth could react. The fighting on the platforms was intense but brief. The boarding parties outnumbered the defenders 5-1, just as planned. The Vorth soldiers, brave but trapped, surrendered within minutes. The platforms were captured intact. With their orbital defenses neutralized, the Vorth fleet had a choice: fight a battle they could not win, or surrender with honor. Their admiral, a veteran named Carrick, chose survival. "We fought well, but you fought better. We surrender." The combined fleet entered orbit around Vorth Prime peacefully. No bombardment, no invasion, just a military presence to ensure compliance with the surrender terms. On the planet's surface, the Vorth civilian government took control. They released all prisoners, providing transport back to their homeworlds. They opened their military facilities for inspection. They agreed to limits on their fleet size and weapons development. In the council chamber on Velither, a ceremony was held. The war was over. The Vorth had been defeated, not destroyed. Peace was restored, but a different kind of peace. Not the naive hope that violence would never come, but the hard-won security of being prepared for it. Speaker Corvin addressed the assembly. "We were wrong. For 3,000 years, we believed peace existed because we were civilized. We learned the truth. Peace existed because we were lucky. When that luck ended, we would have fallen without humanity's intervention." He turned to Ambassador Taemin. "You told us the time for war had come. We did not want to believe you, but you were right. And more than that, you showed us how to wage war without losing our souls. You taught us that strength can serve peace, that military power can defend, not just destroy." Taemin stood before the council one last time. "Humanity did not want this war. We hoped you would never need us to be warriors again. But when the need came, we answered. Not for glory, not for power, but because it was right." The council voted unanimously. A permanent joint military command would be established. The Galactic Defense Force, with Fleet Admiral Kung Su as its first supreme commander. Military academies would be built on multiple worlds, teaching the lessons humanity had learned through blood and sacrifice. But perhaps most importantly, the Council voted to establish an academy on Earth itself. Council species would study there, learning not just military tactics, but military philosophy. Why humans fought, how they controlled their violent capabilities, the ethical frameworks they used to determine when war was justified and when it was not. After the ceremony, Kyung Soo stood with his officers on the bridge of the Indomitable, preparing for the journey home. Commander Ji Woo, Captain Dae Hyan, Lieutenant Hana, and Lieutenant Bora, now a permanent liaison from the Kirishi military, do you think they have truly learned? Hana asked. "They have learned that war exists," Ji Woo replied. "Whether they learn the right lessons remains to be seen." Kung Su looked out at Earth, visible in the distance. "They will learn, because we will teach them, not just how to fight, but when to fight. Not just how to win wars, but how to avoid them. That is humanity's real gift to the galaxy." Bora spoke softly. "On Kirin, we are building monuments to the fallen, human and Kirishi together. We will never forget that humans died to save us. And we will never forget that you learned to fight to save yourselves," Dae Hyan added. "That is what allies do." Tae Min joined them, having left the ceremony early. He looked tired, but satisfied. "The Council wants to offer humanity a permanent seat on the Leadership Council, equal status with the founding species. And we should accept," Kyung-Soo said. "But we must be careful. Power corrupts, even when gained through noble means. We cannot become what we defeated." "We won't," Tae Min assured him, "because we remember where we came from. We remember the wars we fought on Earth, the mistakes we made, the prices we paid. We will help the Council defend themselves, but we will not dominate them." As the Indomitable prepared to depart, a final message came from Scholar Velther, who had been instrumental in the early warnings. "Ambassador, you once told me that peace is not the absence of conflict. It is what you have when you are strong enough to defend it. I understand now. Thank you for teaching us." Tae Min composed his reply carefully. "Thank you for trusting us, for believing that warriors can serve peace. The galaxy is safer now, not because war has been eliminated, but because those who would break the peace know there are those who will stand against them." The human fleet departed Velither, returning to Earth as heroes. But they did not celebrate. They knew the truth. War would come again someday. New threats would emerge. But the galaxy would be ready. The Council species had learned to defend themselves. They had learned that strength and wisdom could coexist. That military power was not inherently evil, but a tool that could serve good when wielded properly. On Earth, in the military academies, a new generation of officers studied the war. They analyzed the tactics, the strategies, the decisions made under pressure. But most importantly, they studied the philosophy. When to fight, when to negotiate, how to be strong without being cruel, how to win wars without becoming monsters. And across the galaxy, on Chiron and Desha Prime and Velither itself, young beings of a dozen species studied the same lessons, learning from humanity that the best victory was the one you never had to fight for, but that achieving that victory required being strong enough that no one dared challenge you. The time for war had come, and when it ended, the galaxy was not divided into conquerors and conquered. It was united by the shared understanding that peace required eternal vigilance, that freedom demanded sacrifice, and that sometimes the only way to preserve civilization was to remember how to defend it. The human diplomat had stunned the Galactic Council with a simple truth, and that truth had saved them all.